managing how they affect our behaviour.
Absolutely. Welcome to BSB TV. In fact, Raw show today. It's Thursday. And with me, I have Margaret Aboody from Luemo Workplace. How are you?
Hi, Kevin. I'm good. How are you?
I'm really, really well. And we're going to talk today about something that's really, really important, because at the end of the day, if we can do this, then we can actually conquer so many more different things.
We can. If you want to be more successful, if you want to enjoy life more, have better relationships, and be what you want to be, and who doesn't want to be happy and successful?
You do what you want to do, yeah, as the song went. Anyway, so we're talking about mind management. So in thinking about mind management, what is mind management?
Yeah. So mind management is the ability to be in touch with your personal thoughts, how that's affecting your emotions, and then how does that drive your behaviour. So if we take some time.
So we're talking about all that chatter that goes on in the background when you're doing different stuff and won't be quiet and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes we can go through life on autopilot where we're just reacting, or we're just moving along. We're not really thinking about how we feel about things. We're not really thinking about how our emotions are driving what we're doing. See, a lot of people go through life doing things because they're fearful, or because they think that there's some sort of expectation they've got to meet, and they never really stop to think about, why am I doing this? You know, what is the intention behind this? So it's good as
and it's so important to have a pause every now and again, and just to listen to that chatter to find out, hey, what is going on in there?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I read something the other day that some scientists has put forward that we have about 80% of the same thoughts every day. We go over the same stuff over and over and over. And I don't know if 80% is the right number or how we could know that. But we do. We have these recurring thoughts. We think about the same things every day, and we have some new thoughts as well. And some of those thoughts that...
Yeah, and they can be good for you or they can be not. So let's talk about, you've got 3 key points in helping to effectively manage your mind.
Yeah. So the first one is one of the reasons we need good mind management is so that we live with intention rather than living as a reaction to what's happening around us. So when we have experiences, this triggers thoughts in our mind, which then triggers emotions. And if we're not careful, we can just react to our emotions all the time and be almost like a hostage to our emotions. So, you know, a customer makes a complaint that's, you know, probably really petty, and you get angry, and then you lash out and you react to that customer in that way, for example, in a work context. You know, so what we need to do is take some time to think about, okay, that's just happened. That's made me angry. Acknowledge the emotion. It's not about ignoring your emotions. It's about acknowledging the emotion and then deciding what I'm going to do with that. Am I going to lash out or not?
Absolutely. There's that little story about, you know, somebody, you know, saying something stupid and, you know, taking 10 seconds of your day, but instead of doing that, you take that 10 seconds and then you ruin the rest of your day, which is, you know, another 300,000 seconds or whatever it is. And, you know, you wouldn't do that to your bank account. If somebody stole 10 cents from your bank account, you wouldn't go and throw out $300,000 because you just lost 10 cents. But we tend to do that with time so often. We get so caught up that we then waste the remainder of our day focused on, maybe other people don't. I know I do from time to time.
Yeah. And, you know, and we do it in relationships as well. We can ruin relationships by lashing out at people that we love because something's happened and it's made us angry, and or we've had a humiliating experience and we throw the bathwater out with the baby. You know, you get hit in the face at indoor cricket or something like that, and you get embarrassed and you never go back. You yell at a child who spills something on the floor, and it up really, makes a child anxious, that sort of thing. So good mind management will allow us to be more intentional with how we're living life rather than reacting to everything that's happening. And this is both with the negative emotions and the positive emotions, because sometimes we can pop out to the shops and we see lots of bright, shiny things, and we can get very excited about that and go and buy things that we don't necessarily need, or the things that we didn't necessarily go out to buy in the first place, but it was presented to us. It gave us a buzz and we bought it. And you get home and you go, oh, I just spent my money on that. I didn't really need it.
Absolutely. And blind optimism is equally as dangerous as blind pessimism.
Yes.
So it is about keeping it in balance. So absolutely. So live with intent and make sure
that's
that
living with intent. Yeah. And acknowledging your emotions, so that when you are having a buzz or when you're feeling humiliated or angry, just stop and go, I am angry. What am I going to do with that emotion? Yeah.
So often we think that being angry is bad, but being angry isn't bad. In fact, being angry is a natural reaction, as long as we keep it in check with making it balanced in proportion to, the event and to the person who's created that event, and at an appropriate time, then that's perfectly fine.
Absolutely, you're right. Anger is a normal human emotion. What you do with that anger, and whether you let that anger control your behaviour, or whether you acknowledge the anger and then decide what to do. That's
putting a label on it.
Now.
And putting a label on it helps us do that. Absolutely. So the second element.
The second one is about challenging your thoughts. So don't believe everything you think, Kevin, because many of our thoughts, thoughts
are... Why are you pointing at me?
Many of our thoughts are negative. Many of our thoughts are wrong. Many of our thoughts actually are quite irrational when you think about it. When you say things, negative thoughts about how you look, negative thoughts about your ability to start your own business, negative thoughts around your abilities to have a relationship with a certain person. So quite often our thoughts and our thoughts about ourselves, or our thoughts about other people, I'm never going to get along with that person. I'm never going to be able to run 5 kilometres. I'm just not a sports person. Those sorts of negative beliefs really hold us back. So when we have good mind management and we practice some of the techniques that you have spoken about before, so mindfulness, meditation, journaling, gratitude practice, when we start using those techniques, we can actually challenge our thoughts. And irrational thoughts about, I can never lose 5 kilos. Every diet I'm on, I fail at. Well, that's actually not right, is it? So we need to think about, what would our best friend say to us? Your best friend would say to you, yeah, you can do it. Of course you can do it. And we need to be our best friend.
Absolutely. We really do need to be, particularly those limiting thoughts. If you whenever you're finding yourself saying never or always, or, whenever you're thinking in terms of absolutes, take a step back and challenge yourself. It's the first thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And with that, the other really dangerous thing is accidentally labeling yourself as your actions. If you have accidentally done something wrong, that does not mean you are bad or you are that action. It just means you made a mistake.
Yeah.
Right? It was in the moment that was a mistake, or that was something that wasn't appropriate. And it needs to be put into that context, as opposed to, I'm a bad person.
That's right. I think that's a really important point. So saying things like, I'm no good at maths, I'm no good at managing relationships, I'm not a very good parent, all those sorts of things.
When we come to business, if you're there saying, I'm not a salesperson, then that will hamper your ability to be able to sell, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if we don't sell anything, we don't have a business, we're going broke. So we are all great salespeople, and we encourage people to do things that are good for themselves all the time. And if you believe that you offer value for your clients, then all you are doing is encouraging your clients to do something that is great for themselves.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we need to have good mind management so we can, cut those negative thoughts off at the pass, or those out of date thoughts about ourselves. We need to say, I'm not like that. I can move on from that. Yeah. So stop labeling ourselves.
So really going along with, I am not my actions. That was a thing that I did, not me. So cool. And the third thing?
The third thing is that good mind management enables you to clear your mind, cut through all of those thoughts going around and around in our head, the things that stop us going to sleep at night, the rumination, replaying scenarios in our head. Good mind management, things like meditation, mindfulness, breathing, those sorts of things can help slow us down and move on from those sorts of things. Now, once we have a clear mind, this is one of my favourite things, is that it opens up a doorway to what I call the genius zone, or you might have heard of the genius zone before. And this is where you do your best work, because you're clear-minded, you're absolutely focused, and you're creative. And I mean, when you're a business owner, you need that, don't you? When you're running your own business and you've got to come up with ideas, you need to focus on some sort of task, you want to be productive, you need to get rid of all of that noise from your head. You need to get rid of all of this unproductive stuff spinning around. We need to have a clear mind with absolute razor sharp focus. That's where creativity is. That's your genius zone. So
Absolutely.
That's the best one.
Absolutely. So good mind management has three components. One, live with intent, know what you're trying to achieve. Two, challenge your negative and limiting beliefs and just label them and let them then move off to the side. And then three, clear your mind and make sure that you're giving yourself a little bit of a rest every day, and potentially a few times a day. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to sit on the floor with your legs crossed and go and that sort of stuff. Just basically giving yourself time to just sit and relax. Could be listening to classical music, could be doing something where you're just able to be quiet.
That's right. And mindfully focus on the classical music, or mindfully focus on hearing the rain. Listen to a meditation podcast, do some deep breathing. Those sorts of techniques, like, give them time for you to reap the benefits. Try it every day, just little bits. I'm really into little bits, little habits, changing little habits and clearing your mind.
And you mentioned in the last show, there was that the Headspace show on Netflix, which is a great way to, if you want to get into meditation, if you want to start thinking about how can I clear my mind, how can I stop that chatter, go and have a quick look at that. Margaret, have you got anything, one last thing you want to leave us with?
The last thing I would say is I think make a start and, stop kidding yourself that you don't need to be in touch with your emotions. Some people go through life and never actually think about how they feel about something unless it's a really strong emotion like overwhelming anger or overwhelming joy. Think about those underlying emotions, and that's where mind management will help you tap into those, and then you take control as opposed to you mindlessly just reacting to your emotions. That's what I'd leave you with.
Absolutely. Look, thank you very much. Mind management. If you want to find out a little bit more about mind management, if you do, Margaret, I'm sure you're going to put a link in this post afterwards.
I am. I will put a link through to this month's Luemo newsletter, which actually talks about mind management. So there you go.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we've helped someone, and even if it's just one person, that's fantastic.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for doing Raw and Raw. It's really valuable.